Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Fox and today I wanted to bring you a brand new PvE build video. I know I posted about this on my channel about a week ago and I've been covering a lot of PvP stuff in that week, so apologies for the delay on this, but I did want to get this out for you all today. This build is specifically designed for Shepherd agents, so for those of you out there that really like helping other agents, this build is going to be great for you as it does a number of things. It buffs your own and your teammates' damage quite considerably, whether they're using skills or weapons. It keeps you and your teammates alive via a very reduced cooldown on the res hive, which is great for picking them up, and of course yourself, and it keeps a lot of heat off of you and your teammate, again with a very powerful decoy. So what I'll do in the usual fashion is go through the build. I'll explain the best way to use it. I'll demonstrate how it works in the firing range. So if you do want to sort of cut to any of those parts in the timestamps, please do so. And then what I'm going to do is try and find a small group in which to showcase this build with. So hopefully you'll enjoy all the footage there. Now, I have covered some Shepherd builds in the past, a couple of really popular ones actually. One of them was actually used by a content creator, quite a large one in fact, that really enjoyed it as well. So, I have made some good Shepherd builds in the past and I've spent a lot of time researching this one. I think it's going to be good, but just bear in mind it does perform poorly in large groups, particularly if those teammates are experienced. So this isn't a build for helping out and buffing the damage of like a competent group that's had Warlords of New York for a while and kind of knows what they're doing. For that, you want to consider my other AR support build that is fantastic for buffing you more high-end players. Just check the screen now and you'll see the link in the top. It will also be in the description. This is very much for solo, for duo, or for just helping a four-man, of course with yourself included, if they're all kind of new to Warlords, they've got a low watch level, they've not quite got their hands on what gear to equip, and they don't know the mission so well. This build excels in those scenarios. So what we'll do first, we'll have a look at the build and then I'll demonstrate how it works in the firing range. This build is almost entirely centered around the mechanical animal. This is a named SIG 556 and is actually quite a high DPS AR. It's certainly above average on the list of ARs. And what this essentially does is gives us the Future Perfection talent, which is the perfect version of Future Perfect. Pretty poor naming from Mass's part there, but never mind. What this essentially does is give us anything up to 3 additional skill tiers on our build just for getting kills, which is, like I say, quite difficult in an experienced group, but very easy if you're a Shepherd agent. Now you can give yourself overcharge if one of those 3 kills takes you to above tier 6, but we're not going to be doing that today. This is going to get us to skill tier 5, which is plenty for this build. What will essentially happen is every kill we just give our skills plus 1 skill tier, and that will last for 19 seconds, although this can be reset by getting a further kill, which will keep it at that plus 3. Secondary weapon, I don't really use this too much because if you do swap off of your Future Perfection, you lose all of those skill tier stacks, so I very rarely swap off. But I always like to have a mop on hand as it just gives me 10% armor on kill, and I've got quite a nice roll here. Same is said for the sidearm as well. Perfect Finisher is great for fleshing out some additional damage on the DZ exclusive orbit, but this is by no means a necessity, and to be fair, you'll very, very rarely switch to these 2 weapons. It's all about the mechanical animal. We are utilising Technician to give us plus 1 skill tier, to give us a nice damage bonus to mechanical items such as turrets and warhounds, which can obviously cause a lot of pain. And we have a nice EMP grenade as well for shutting down those same items. If we sit near our decoy, which you never want to be too close, but you can play this quite smartly, you will be immune to shock and disrupt as well, so that's another nice little feature of Technician. Looking at the armour pieces, there are 2 centre pieces to this build. We have Overwatch. Now you don't need perfect Overwatch here, the only difference being that it's a 12-second cooldown to get Overwatch procs as opposed to 8. But Sawyers prevents us from being knocked out of cover, so you really don't need the perfect one here. Obviously if you have it, it's a Fenris anyway, and you need Fenris in your build, so by all means go for it. The second, which is much easier to farm for as it comes in the season pass, and this seems to drop all the time, is the battery pack, which is the named Empress backpack that gives us perfectly calculated. This is a very important talent for this build as it reduces all of our skill cooldowns by 15%, just for being in cover. So fantastic. It means that we can get our hive back faster, our decoy back faster, and when I say faster, you're talking 5, maybe 6 kills, and you've got a hive charge back already. So it's incredibly easy to reduce your cooldowns quite drastically, especially when paired with a weapon as hard hitting as a SIG, and of course with all the additional skill tier that this is giving us. So the Ferocious Calm is a DZ exclusive. This is the name variant, but as I said before, you don't need this as long as you have 1 Fenris in your build. Ideally roll to crit chance and crit damage as I have here, and then of course the Overwatch talent, which means that simply sitting in cover you will buff you and all of your teammates damage by 12%. That's weapon and skill damage. That's a total weapon and skill increase as well, so it's a nice multiplicative stat that is very noticeable. It works with status effect builds, it works with pestilence ticks, it works with bullets, with skill damage, the whole lot. I have also included a contractor's gloves here, and the reason for that is that this build I wanted to incorporate the damage trifecta, which is damage to armor, as you can see here from your contractor's gloves, and that's the 8% there. We want damage to health, which is good for warhounds and heavies, and mechanical items, that's the AR intrinsic core attribute there, and finally damage to targets out of cover. So no matter which way you look at it, we're getting at least one of those three multiplicative buffs active at one time, and that's why you want to roll your weapon to damage to targets and ideally have contractors. It just ensures that as we have no real damage talents on this build, our damage is actually going to be very impressive, as you will see shortly. I have rolled this to crit chance, and I would have preferred it to be crit damage as well, but it's not the end of the world having this set to skill haste, because that's only going to help our cooldowns even further with the perfectly calculated on top of that. We also have one piece of Walker and Harris. Again, this is here purely to buff our weapon damage, so that's 5% additional weapon damage, and once again this is rolled to crit chance and crit damage as well. A very important stat for this build, as you need to be hitting hard to get those kills. And finally we have the Seska knees, which give us, the Seska holster even, which again is rolled in exactly the same way there. Now because this build is, as you can see, 4 red with 1 blue and 1 yellow, what I've done is I've included Sawyers for 3 different reasons. 1, it gives us the 1 blue, which means our armor goes up from 700k to 900k. 2, we cannot be staggered by any explosions, such as drones and grenadiers, which is fantastic for Overwatch, and this is the reason you don't need the perfect version. If you're not staggered out of cover, you're not going to lose your Overwatch bonus, therefore giving you and your team more damage for longer. And 3, it gives us a 30% total weapon damage buff. We need to be sat in cover anyway for perfectly calculated, as this is the most important talent on this build, so that's why I've gone for Overwatch and for Sawyers, as them two just pair fantastically with each other, and even better so with perfectly calculated. All you need to do is sit in cover for 10 seconds and you'll be at 30% weapon damage. As weapon damage per item is 15%, that's the equivalent of 2 reds, therefore making our build the equivalent of 6 reds, so it is like a 6 red AR build. If you move, you do retain that 30% for an additional 10 seconds, so use that window to get into a new set of cover, and then you'll immediately start building stacks up again as soon as that runs out, so you have very limited downtime on this. I know it's not a popular exotic, but it works really well with this build. So we're using the Res Hive. We're at +2, skill tier 2 for this, because we have 1 yellow from the Empress backpack and an additional skill tier from Technician, and of course that is also true for the Decoy. My stats are as follows. Our weapon damage is currently set at 107.5k per bullet, but this is going to be buffed quite considerably by Overwatch and by Sawyers, as you'll see in a second in the firing range. My crit chance is very nearly cap at 59.6, and it is crucial that you go for cap on this build, or at least 50%, and then everything else I put into crit damage, meaning I'm at 121%. My armor is, as you've just seen, just over 900k. We don't have any armor on killer armor regen or anything like that, because it isn't necessarily needed with this build. But we do have the 20% explosive resistance, the additional 10% coming from Sawyers, which once again helps to keep us alive whilst we're being bombarded by drones and so on. Luckily that doesn't happen with this build, and what I'll now do is demonstrate exactly why that is. Okay, so we're now at the firing range. What I'm going to do is show you how this works. Now by default at skill tier 2 you can see the refill speed is 147.5 seconds, and of course I've got the skill haste disabled in the firing range. So quite a long cooldown for obvious reasons. When you use this you don't get it back for a long time, which can be quite dangerous, and this has a 20.5 second cooldown. Now there are 2 ways that this build works with the mechanical animal and the future perfection. The Decoy is buffed regardless of whether it is holstered or actually deployed, and the Res Hive is only when it is not deployed. So what you want to do for the most part is throw your Decoy out. Now you might want to make sure you're on 1080p here, because this health bar is quite hard to see, but you can see that's tier 2 with nearly 2 full sort of notches of armor. Let's get a couple of kills. If you look at the side of the weapon, you see that that's going up there. This definitely isn't struggling to kill these. Now that's at 5, you can see it's nearly 4 blocks of armor, and it's tier 5, so this is buffed immediately. And the advantage of the Decoy, when it is buffed to that level, I can't quite show you, is that it gains increased threat, 175% threat from the standard 100% threat. So this takes so much heat off of your team, and if it does break like that, you see the 14-second cooldown. That's now 9 seconds, 7, 6. There you go. So you see it just flies down, and of course, because we've got a couple of kills there, you look at the side of my gun, you see we're still at 2. Now the Res Hive is a little bit different. If we get the 3rd kill, watch the charges on my Hive. You see that went up to 6 there. This, if you deploy it, and then you lose all of the stacks on your gun, so if I swap off and swap back on again, you'll notice that it goes down to tier 2, but we still have 6 charges if you look at my HUD just there underneath my armor. So this retains 6 charges. So the way that I'll start most encounters is I'll throw the decoy out first because that's buffed whilst it's deployed, and once I've got a couple of kills I'll then deploy this somewhere near me or near the teammate that I'm trying to help, because this can res 6 separate people, and even if I die, which we'll demonstrate now by breaking it, let's just say this goes into cooldown, you see it's 147 seconds, 122, 98, 72, 48, 21, done. So 6 kills, that's all you need. And of course if you've got a lot of window between that, it might only be 4 or 5 kills, you get it back so fast it's unreal. And of course you see that I've got these Sawyers and the Overwatch buff active as well, which is really helping me melt through these, even though I don't have a damage talent on the weapon, or of course, really anywhere else. It's mostly just from Overwatch, the fact that we've got the damage trifecta and Sawyers helping us out there. What I'm now going to do is try and find a agent, ideally one that is calling for backup. If not, I will just quickly showcase this solo, because I'll probably just clear a control point or something, just because it works just as well solo as it does with somebody that is calling for backup. Okay, so I have loaded in with a couple of agents. Let's see how we get on. Oh, this guy's already dead. Okay, that's perfect. I'm going to drop that there for him. Push forward a little bit here. So what I could do here, I could just choose to break this down if I wanted, or I can just pick it back up again. It doesn't really make a difference, but I do want to sit in cover as much as possible to make sure I'm giving my teammates the buff that they should be getting.
Incoming hostiles detected.
Let's get this decoy out, take some heat off of us. Nice and easy. I actually think, is this story mode? I think we might be in story mode. Okay, this might not be the best place to demonstrate the build, to be fair, but I'm just, you can see these guys are both low level, and all I did there was throw a decoy out, res somebody, and that took so much heat off of them, so probably not a great place to demonstrate it. What I will now do is load into a solo heroic mode, so that I can demonstrate how it plays against, just sort of heroic agents, because I think we're actually in story mode here. So what I've done is I've come back into Mine World, which you can see is set to heroic. So I'm going to set this mission to heroic and do this completely solo. What I'll probably do just to demonstrate how well this works is throw my hive, detonate it, so that you can see just how quickly we actually get this back. So you see it's now got that 147 second cooldown. I'm going to get this out over here. And you see that a lot of these are targeting it. I've not even been shot once yet. This is how effective it is, because at skill tier 5, which is what we're now at, it can very easily, it's 175% threat, which is way higher than the default value of course, the default level, the skill tier 1 and 0, which is 100%. You see my hive is already nearly back. Look at that, 5 seconds already. That was one room, and I killed, 5 enemies there? So it really doesn't take long at all to get it back on this build. So what I'll do is I'll show you this room here, then we'll go straight to a boss fight so you can see how it performs versus a difficult to kill boss. So you see we're not struggling at all here to get kills, and everything is just going for the decoy because it's currently at tier 4. So all of these guys are completely focused on that decoy, and the thing with the decoy is because it's at 100% threat by default, that's the same threat as an enemy agent when they come into the room. Oh, where's my camera going? What was that? Which means the moment you enter the room, you're the same threat as your decoy, but as soon as you start firing, you then build up decoy. Sorry, you start building up threat. Why does my camera keep going so weird there? That's really strange. Yes, you start building up threat as soon as you do damage, and then you go over the 100%, which means at tier 1 or 0, it doesn't last very long in terms of the decoy taking heat off of you. Trying to get his crit spot. He's a slippery one, this guy. There he goes. We'll do is throw this out over here. See if he turns around. Probably won't because it's only at tier 2 at the moment. Oh, he has. This is what I mean. It's so effective at taking the heat off of you. But yeah, what we'll now do is I'm going to go straight to a boss fight so you can see how it performs there. So we're now at the first Kajika fight. This is actually a great room to test this because we don't have any healing on this build at all, and I want to demonstrate how well this works even in solo mode versus a bunch of, these guys are cleaners, so they're going to burn me, they're going to rush me. There's the shield guys that rush you. It's quite a dangerous room actually, and this is going to be a great example. All we're going to do is use a decoy. I'm hoping that I actually do go down, and I know that sounds a bit strange, but once again I want to demonstrate just how quickly you can get your hive back on this build. Let's see how we get on. I'm going to throw the decoy out straight away. Sit in cover here. Start working these guys down. So far nothing has even shot at me yet. Probably because I'm killing it too quickly, but if I could land my shots, that is. Oh, here we go. Got our first offender. Ow!
Immediate medical assistance needed.
I'm hoping to go down here.
Agent
There it is.
incapacitated.
Now, I did do that on purpose. Obviously, you wouldn't keep repeaking if your health was that low. But again, I just want to demonstrate that if you do go down in a room like this, you can get away with it. So let's get this chunky boy out again. I'm on fire, which is kind of annoying. This is where that damage to health, damage to targets out of cover, damage to armor come in handy. I mean, none of these guys are shooting at me now, look. I've already got my charge down quite low as well, my hive charge. Cooldown, should I say. Nearly got my decoy back as well. There you go, I've already got a charge back. So if I die again here, it's fine. So I'm going to pop a armor kit this time. Where am I getting shot from? There it is.
On the run again. Finish off those
Can you stick your head out? No. We just carry on. But yeah, this build does not struggle to do damage at all. This is why I like the C79 scope. It gives you that nice range sight, but it also gives you 5% crit chance. So that's it. That's the build there. I really like this. As I say, it definitely underperforms with a strong group, but that's not where you would use it. Just check out my original AR support build that I linked earlier in the video and will be in the description. That is fantastic for doing a huge amount of damage, but also really buffing a team's damage as well. So that's more for just outright pure damage for your team. This is more for keeping teammates and yourself alive and taking heat off of you. So they do play quite differently, but for Shepherd agents out there, if you try this build out, I promise you'll have a great time with it. You'll be able to get loads of kills. You'll help the agent out that is quite low level, that's maybe needing that help. You're going to take loads of heat off of them, res them as much as you need to. It just works really well. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I did spend a little bit of time working on this build, and I still feel that I might be able to tweak it and improve it. And if any of you come up with some good ideas for this, let me know in the comments, and I will rework this and do a 2.0 version. And of course, credit you in the description in the new video as well. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.